really wear on me. It was re-traumatizing me. It wasn't helping me deal with anything. It was just making me go back through it all over again. Um, and actually, one of them I told them I really didn't want to. I didn't feel this strong enough to deal with one. And after a really rough therapy session, I walked out and overdosed that night. I I overdosed on fentanyl, and and they were able to resuscitate me with naloxone. But I was out for a couple minutes, and I actually remember coming to and seeing my chest blue, um, and that's when I knew that what I was doing still wasn't quite working with therapy, and I thought therapy was going to fix me. Therapy is what I need. I just need a different kind. I need a different person, I'd go from facility to facility and have the no luck because they were all the same therapy. It was just different people, and it was not what I would always try to rely on my strength to get me through. It was me, it was my strength. I was doing this, you know. And obviously it would fail me every single time. I could do it for a short period of time, and then the wheels would come off, and I would cycle into a relapse period, use for a while, come back out, do well for a while, but just I always fighting, always fighting that stuff. When I was still doing okay, I wasn't okay. I wasn't mentally okay. I just was making it through the day successfully without using drugs, and that was a successful day for me. Or not feeling so depressed. Um, then I went to a private facility, and one of the therapists there, um, he was an Israeli soldier. He was a Christian. He was a Christian, and he I think he was a really smart guy, and he knew my background, and we tried this therapy called EMDR, where it's rapid eye movement, and it puts you in more or less a trance type state where you revisit those memories in your own body with a facilitator sitting across from you, making sure that you're not having a physiological response to it. And it sounded like hocus pocus to me, but I at the time was in a bad place and I needed help. And so I was vulnerable. I dropped my guard to him. I felt like I could, as a Christian man that was a soldier, I felt like I could connect with him. And part of this therapy involved visualization, like I said, and you had to have a guide that you were visualizing inside your therapy. There was supposed to be an entity, an individual, someone's face you were to hold in your head or anything like that. And I was in this very vulnerable, open state. And so when he asked me, who was going to be my guide in this journey, Jesus Christ rolled out of my mouth. Before I even knew what I was saying, I said, Jesus Christ is, and he said, he kind of looked at me different. Instead of asking, we moved on into the therapy. And inside this visualization therapy, I would even see my trauma. I would see the event all over again, but I was from a third person. And I felt a warm, protective strength that I knew was Christ, that was not me, that was there to hold my hand, to give me the strength to deal with that stuff, some of it I just completely pushed to the back of my mind. I didn't even know it happened. I did, but it was just so much so that I didn't know I was carrying it all. And the therapy sessions would only go around about 30 minutes. But for the first 20 days, they had to carry me out of there. They had to carry me out of his office. A couple guys would carry me down the hall and lay me in bed, and I've never been like that in my life, and I would just couldn't even pick myself up. I would be so tired, and I would sleep in the middle of the day for a couple hours, and I can't do that stuff. And that happened for like 20 days, consecutive. And I thought, and I just, part of me, like my psyche's like, oh, you gotta slow down, and you can't be doing all this, but at the same time, I found myself starting to pray again. I started praying again, and it all started with that visualization. And I would also feel this healing light that would kind of happen afterwards, because I would just be sobbing sometimes, and I would feel a light or that was being shown on me that I knew was Christ working my life, and it all hit me then that like I was so foolish, like to think that I could do it without him. And when I tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed, but the minute that I let Jesus back into my life and I prayed to him and I was giving him the glory, that's when I had success. And I had and I started feeling a lot better, being able to go out in crowds again, be around other people. And it still was a process even then, because I think when I first came back to church, you guys might have seen me just kind of rubbernecking at Sunday school in there, because that was too tight of a space for me to be with that many people. It took time for me to get back to where I could be out and about with, and start being myself again, and not being afraid of everything or afraid of what was going to happen. I just started relying on Christ and his grace, that despite when I was kicking and screaming and not doing what I should have been and being just arrogant and prideful, he never stopped loving me for like a second or a minute. And that just, it blows my mind. It really does. And to think I drug him through I drug him through some really bad stuff, with hurting myself, and there's no way that I should be standing here right now. There's no way at all. I know that if it wasn't for Jesus, I wouldn't be standing here right now. I wouldn't be a part of the church. I wouldn't be in the place that I am now. And I'm so grateful for this church family, because that's something I noticed that I knew I was in rough shape, but I saw everybody praying for me, and I saw everybody rooting for me, and when you're in a dark place, that's a lot of strength that I needed to continue to come back out, and share my gifts that God's given me with the rest of the church. And so thankful to have Pastor Frank and give me some real solid theology and to stand on, and my childhood friend Pastor Cameron. He plays a big role in me continuing to walk closer to Christ every day. Because I just want to, I don't want all that bad stuff to be for no reason. I want to turn around and drag somebody else up out of that hole that I was in. Thank you.
Dan, wait a minute, Dan.
I challenge every man in this congregation to come forward as a representative of your family and stand with Dan in front of him, behind him. Come on, if you're men, if you're veterans, come on. Get over here, guys, come on.
He confuses. Group doesn't say that.
Well, that's his men, as a representative of your family.
Lori's. Okay.
You can come too, if you're a Marine.
Thank you.
This might be a good time for another doxology, right?
Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him, all creatures here below.